Just like that, F1 75 is a thing of the past, done and dusted. All 10 liveries for the 2025 F1 season have been revealed. From Racing News 365, my name is Nick Golding, and I'm delighted to be joined, as always, for what feels like the first proper F1 update of the year. It is, of course, lead editor Ian Parks. Ian, what an evening going into the F1 75 event. So many thoughts, unpredictable beliefs on what the evening was going to hold. I think, you know what, hats off F1, they did pretty well. You were obviously in the O2 Arena. I mean, come on, give us your general thoughts.
Do you know what, Nick? There was so much skepticism and
Yeah,
doubt about this
and
event
and then some.
when it was first announced last year. Oh,
Yeah.
all 10 teams really getting together ahead of the start of the season, only doing a livery launch. Is that all they're going to do? Oh, come on. And even today, we've had an array of media press conferences ahead of the actual launch night itself. And even then, there was a little bit of skepticism. Christian Horner, Red Bull team principal, chief amongst them, turning around and suggesting, well, the drivers don't really want to be here. They want to focus on other things. I'll tell you what, Nick, after that event tonight, if there was a driver amongst the 20 that didn't actually enjoy what took place, because at the end of the day, that was one hell of a spectacular show that was put on by F1 and all 10 teams, then that particular driver is a bit of a boring pants, I've got to say, because it truly was. No other sport I can ever recall has gone and done something like that ahead of a new season coming up. So I'm going to give hats off, chapeau to F1. It's been a long time in the making. I know so many man hours has gone into this, so much preparation. The teams have also worked long and hard. They've each had 7 minutes for each of their presentations to try and nail something that's going to look good, sound good. And for the most part, the majority of those teams did deliver. I know we're going to go into a little bit of detail as to who was good, who was not so good. In our humble opinion, at the end of the day, you F1 fans out there might have a different opinion. Of course, if you have to what me and Nick are about to say, then of course, drop it in the comment notes. Be polite about it. It's only our thoughts at the end of the day. It's only our opinion. Everybody's entitled to it. But at bottom line, I thought it was an absolutely spectacular event. And as I say, hats off to F1 for producing it.
I completely agree. And I think as well, hats off to Jack Whitehall, of course, as a British actor and comedian, was the host tonight. And given it was, meant to be quite a serious event, made so many jokes and made fun of pretty much all the drivers and team principals, I think he did really, really well. But let's get on with some of the big talking points from the evening. And I think we need to start off probably with the biggest cheer of the night. And of course, it was to Lewis Hamilton, the first time that a lot of people really have seen him in his red overalls, and Ferrari as well. The only pretty much of the big four teams to make some pretty significant changes to its livery with a major white stripe on the
Yeah.
rear of the car. But I mean, it's fair to say that, yeah, Lewis did get the biggest cheer of the night.
Yeah, in fairness, I think the cheer from the 15,000 strong audience, and it was a sellout. Of course, every ticket sold out within 20 minutes once they went on sale, according to F1. Pretty much lifted the roof off the O2 Arena. It was the loudest cheer of the night. Probably you had all combined, all the other drivers, then Lewis probably topped the lot by a long, long way. It was huge raucous cheers. Yes, we've got other British drivers, of course. George Russell, Lando Norris, Ollie Behrman in his debut season, of course, with Haas this year. But Lewis, you know, is an icon at the sport at the end of the day. The fans love him. Yes, okay, it's in his home country, of course it is, but bottom line is Lewis won the popularity stakes hands down, and a great launch by Ferrari. Today being the birth date of its founder, Enzo Ferrari. So that added a little bit of poignancy to today's livery launch, or tonight's livery launch. And they put on a great show. The car was a bit different as well. So at least you saw something a bit different from the livery compared to one or two other teams that really hadn't done a great deal in terms of their paint jobs compared to last year. So again, credit to Ferrari for that. But yes, Lewis and Charles Leclerc. Charles
Yeah.
Leclerc got a massive cheer as well, in fairness to him. So it's quite clear that amongst the fans, Ferrari, Lewis, Charles, they're going to be the ones to beat in terms of that popularity contest, that's for sure, because the likes of Max didn't go down well. He was booed. Christian Horner, Red Bull team principal in particular, he was booed. So it's like we know who's the bad boys and who are the heroes and villains, shall we say, from this particular night, that's for sure. And it's probably going to be like that throughout the season.
It was quite funny. The TV cameras did at one point pick up on Charles and Lewis playing a game of chess on Charles' phone. I think at that point they may have been a little bit bored before they got on stage. But I mean, you mentioned there about Max getting booed. And I think one person in the crowd, yourself and obviously our colleague Jake Nicol, picked out that one person told Christian Horner to politely shut up. But it's obviously an event meant to be a celebration of F1, and it does feel like the boos of Max, which even over TV, did come across. It was also noticeable that of all the drivers, it was only Liam and Max who didn't speak either. The booing did feel unnecessary. I think it's fair to say it does just need to stop at these kind of events.
Yeah, totally. This was a celebration of F1. It's 75 years of Formula One. A huge event. As I say, a lot of time, effort, resources has gone into it, not just by F1, but by all 10 teams. And so, as I say, a celebration of the sport, of the history of the sport, the icons of the sport. And it was a night, for everybody to get together and to truly enjoy something totally different, totally unique. It's never been done before. As I say, a lot of initial skepticism, but it came off. And the booing, it was unnecessary. It wasn't needed. Uh, and it's just that the one tiny blemish I would suggest on what has really been a great night for Formula One. Figures coming out, they said that at one stage they had 1.1 million concurrent views on their YouTube channel. Their
Mental.
previous high was 289,000. So that gives you some idea as to
Yeah.
just how popular this event has been for the fans. Will they repeat it? Maybe F1 100, maybe. I think tonight, speaking to a lot of people after the event, F1 guys in particular, this is likely to be a one-off, just something different to celebrate an historic landmark in Formula One's history of 75 years. Give it another 25 years, and maybe we might have F1 100, and who knows how that will turn out. But I know I'll be long retired by then. You'll be still around, Nick, I'm
Oh,
sure. But
well, fingers crossed, I'll still be in a job. Hopefully, at that point, we'll be getting 1.1 million concurrent viewers. That'd be amazing. I mean, but of course, for those who are watching this update and watch the F1 75 event, let us know in the comment section if you'd like to see this every single year. I think more people are possibly, in terms of the fans, might be more open to it now, having seen it, than they would have been before. I think myself included. I thought it was a brilliant event. Red Bull, of course, McLaren as well. Mercedes kind of really stuck with the exact same livery, maybe a different type of paint compared to last year. Racing Bulls, on the other hand, hello. I mean, for
not
me,
bad.
the best livery of the night. Yuki Tsunoda was doing donuts to the red carpet as well, which was kind of summed up how he was feeling about the whole event. For me, though, Racing Bulls, I mean, livery of the night, but also I think a special shout out as well to Stake, who obviously were the first team up, home finished last season in the Constructors' Championship, with, I think, the best pre-livery segment, given that all the teams, some went for a little video of ET and were a bit meh. Stake had some drummers, all with neon green drumsticks. I mean,
Brilliant.
Racing Bulls, in my opinion, livery of the night. Stake F1, best preview segment of the night. What are your thoughts? Who do you go for the best? And, well, the best in both areas.
Do you know what? When Steak started off, and I thought, wow, that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that, and I thought, kind of think, well, the teams are only going to get bigger and better and more fancy in terms of their presentation. As I said, they only had 7 minutes to try and nail something to really truly represent who they are, what they are all about, what's coming up for the coming season in terms of the team, the car, the livery, etc. And for me, Steak absolutely nailed it in terms of
Yeah,
that presentation. I thought the drummers lining up either side, the car coming down the middle, I thought it was absolutely superb. And then some teams hit the heights, some teams for me didn't. And I'm
Yeah,
gonna say, sorry, Red Bull fans, I don't
I
care really
liked it.
what you think.
I
I
thought it
thought
was
your
cool.
presentation was quite poor. You had Christian Horner coming on stage at the start and giving a little bit of a spiel, and as you say, Nick, one fan telling him to shut up because he was going on a bit too long, and then just a video in the background, and then Max and Liam coming on and not saying a single word. Every other driver said something. They were asked a question and they talked about the team, the car, etc., the livery. Red Bull, Max, Liam, nothing. What on earth is going on? Red Bull are the kings of PR. They do all these great stunts, these great videos, and this was like, meh. This was a real letdown for me from Red Bull. So, in terms of presentation,
Yeah.
top 10, definitely. State, worst for me. Red Bull, sorry. But hey, that's my opinion.
See,
I'm entitled
I
to it.
actually,
You
yeah,
might have a
of
different
course,
opinion
of
out there,
course.
F1 fans. It's fine. All good. Don't worry about it. If that's your, as I said, that's your opinion, all
I
good.
don't. I
In
actually
terms
thought
of
it
the
was quite a good
livery,
video. But yeah, go on, livery.
yeah, in terms of livery, yeah, I thought, no, I've seen the images up close. I thought, yeah, Racing Balls, you've done something different, at least. You've given us something to talk about and to go, actually, do you know what? That's quite cool what you've done there.
Yeah.
I really like that. As you're saying, Ferrari have done something different. Maybe traditionalists won't like the white
Mm.
on a Ferrari, but I thought again, just something a little bit different. Whereas McLaren, even Zach said it on stage, it's an homage to our title-winning car of last year, and they've really come out and not presented anything different.
In other words,
Mercedes
we
was the
couldn't be bothered
same,
for a new
Red Bull
livery.
was yeah, Red Bull was kind of the same, but at least there were different
There
accents
were, yeah.
amongst a few others. Williams was, a shade different. Haas was
Brighter.
not much. Haas was a little bit different. Aston Martin, again, shades of white on its car rather than going predominantly all green. So at least there were talking points. And we've obviously got a poll going, folks, on
We
our,
do.
our website. As we do, why not? We love our polls on Racing News 365. So why not you guys tell us? You rank those liveries 10 to 1 as we've done on our site. Give us your thoughts. Be good to hear.
Now, I did mention, obviously, Jack Whitehall that they presented did have a few innuendos, a few jokes with the drivers, both with them and at them. One of which you, I think, maybe felt a little bit frustrated from it, and I don't know, maybe saw the funny side of it. Lando Norris, very, very close to being a bit of a naughty boy.
Well, it
He was a
wasn't just
naughty
very,
boy,
very close. He was
but
slightly naughty boy. He used to
very funny.
describe Netflix as wankers, which was like, on a day when a lot of the drivers have been talking about a swearing ban, he said it's not a swear word. And it's one of those that difference of opinion as to whether you think that's a swear word or not. But I thought it was quite humorous at the end of the day. Of course, this is not an FIA affiliated or sanctioned event. And by the way, when the FIA came up on those screens around the stage, they got boos as well. So it
That was the
wasn't just
biggest boo of the night, I think.
Christian and Max that got a few boos. It was the FIA as well. But as I say, it was humorous. It was funny. He's not going to get fined for that because, as I say, Nick, this isn't an FIA event. It's only going to be FIA events going forward into this season. Formula One events in particular, naturally, that's going to be the highest profile. We know there's been swearing in FE, a radio
Yeah,
tirade
Dan Tickton. Yeah,
going on from Dan Tickton in that one. Of course, there's been World Rally as well,
first
where there
fine,
was
yeah.
one of the drivers there swore during an interview and he has got fined. So, yeah, we're going to pick up on this a lot. The drivers have got to be very mindful as to what they say because they're going to be at FIA sanctioned events. So, over the radio, as I say, this has been a big talking point with a lot of the drivers during the press conferences today. Over the radio, you're fine. It's part of the ebb and flow between a driver and his team, as long as it's within context. If it's a driver just, having a tirade at something maybe that does go over that particular line, then maybe that driver might get pulled up for it. However, if a driver swears in an interview, that is very different. Then
Yeah.
they are going to get penalised for that. And this year, just in case you're not aware, folks, a driver, should they be punished for swearing, will initially get a €40,000 fine. That's 400% over any other junior series. So it gives you some
Mental.
idea. I mean, one of the drivers today turned around and said that it's one of those that he couldn't afford if the fine was levied against him. So it gives you some idea as to Ollie Behrman. That's the name I was trying to think of. Ollie Behrman was the driver that turned around and said he couldn't afford it. Because it's a rookie at the end of the day. He's not going to be on a massive salary. 40,000 euros for one swear word. It's a lot. So they've got to, as I say, okay, during a Grand Prix, okay, during a race, that's fine. Or, across a practice session or qualifying session, then maybe they might get away with it. But as I
And
say,
yeah,
in a press conference, no, you cannot do that. That's going to lead to a fine. And beyond that, repeat offenders, you're going to get points docked. You could even be banned from races. And you're allowed, or you're not allowed, sorry, you use 3 swear words over a 2-year period, then you're going to be seriously clamped down upon. So there's a lot for the drivers to think about. And when you think of the Racing Bulls lineup, Yuki Tsunoda and Isaac Hasher, who has been prone to using the odd swear word in his radio broadcast, then they've got to be a little bit mindful as well. So they've got to make sure that they keep their noses clean, those guys.
Racing Bulls might be needing a new driver lineup for the Chinese Grand Prix. I mean, based on the Yuki and Isaac's track record. But swearing was obviously a big topic, not just in the press conferences, but also during F175, the live event itself. And I mean, the most unlikely of figures who is renowned around the world for his swearing is, of course, global chef Gordon
Gordon
Ramsay, who
Ramsay.
actually jumped to the defense of the drivers and I guess what was meant to be perhaps a light-hearted joke, but ended up being a pretty punchy statement from Gordon.
Yeah, if anybody's ever watched Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares or Hell's Kitchen, then
Big fan.
this is a guy that pretty much uses the F word every other word, particularly when he's ranting at his junior chefs for not doing something correct. As I say, it's part of who he is. It's part of his persona. And as Jack Whitehall was interviewing him, you're almost waiting for Gordon to come out and say something, to use an F-bomb or a shirt bomb or whatever. And sure enough, right at the very end, he was giving this, as you say, a little bit of a monologue. He was
Yeah.
defending the drivers to be themselves, and it was almost like, who gives a shit, if they do say something, and who can blame them? Because at the end of the day, they're driving a car at 200 mile per hour. But as I said, this I think is going to be the differentiation as to where there will be punishments for using swear words and punishments, and obviously the leniency that there might then be applied, because you have to be appreciative of the fact of the scenario that a driver might be in at any given time on a racetrack, any given situation that might be unfolding. And naturally, whilst there are a lot of people that do not condone swearing in any way, shape, or form, naturally is still part of the English language ultimately. And there are a lot of drivers that will use swear words. Bless him, Yuki Tsunoda, who I've only just recently mentioned, during his driver press conference here, right behind me with his backdrop, actually, turned around and came up with a really humorous line where he turned around and said that basically he's got to be careful that he doesn't fudge it up. Fudge it up. So if you hear the word fudge a lot over Yuki Tsunoda's radio, you're going to know why he's saying that now, because all of a sudden that's now got into his psyche. So I thought that was really quite clever from Yuki, and quite humorous as well.
Just the final thing we do need to mention before we bring the first real F1 update of the year to an end is, of course, whilst today has been F1 75, because we're recording this straight after the event on Tuesday, Ferrari, I mean, I imagine that Red Sir Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton are maybe on a private jet back to
That'd
Italy
be,
tonight.
yeah.
Because, of course, Wednesday morning, we've seen the livery. We will see their 2025 car for the first time. A pretty busy time for Ferrari.
Yeah, bear in mind that all we saw at the F175 was the livery of all 10 cars, all 10 teams at the end of the day. This was not a car that you're going to see on track in Bahrain. just a week away now, Nick.
We're
Can you
almost
believe it?
there.
We are 1 week away from pre-season testing. We've managed to get through this long winter, long winter for us
Long
guys
winter.
at Racing News 365, trying to bring you as much content as possible. Even when there's been very little going on, we've done our very best. I hope you agree, folks. But yeah, 1 week away now from pre-season testing. But yes, as you say, Nick, tomorrow, the proper launch of the new Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton behind the wheel of that car. Charles Leclerc was, of course, going to have his run out, tour around Fiorano. Those guys now are getting very close to the start of the new season. It's going to be a fascinating one for Ferrari. As I say, those guys got the biggest cheer of the night, Lewis Hamilton especially. So we could quite clearly tell who were the fan favourites among the 15,000 strong crowd at the O2. And a lot of love for Ferrari going on, as I'm sure there will be around Fiorano tomorrow. You can imagine there's going to be a lot of fans turning up again to get that first glimpse of this season's new car. And yeah, they're going to be serious title challengers, Ferrari. In terms of Lewis, both Zach Brown and Christian Horner have turned around and said in their media sessions today, they are quietly confident that Lewis Hamilton is going to be a championship contender, providing he can find his confidence. We know he's gone through his issues at Mercedes, of course, with his ground effect cars over the past 3 years. If he can hit the ground running, both Zach and Christian, as I say, firmly believe Lewis is going to be in contention for that 8th title this year.
Well, not long to find out. And of course, for those who are wanting more details on Ferrari's launch on Wednesday, be sure to check out Racing News 365, where we will have all the details and all the pictures as soon as they are released. Ian, amazing stuff as always. Get home safely. This has been the first real F1 update of the year from F1 75. My name has been Nick Golding. I've been joined, as always, by lead editor Ian Parks. We will see you next week for pre-season testing. See you later.
And as always, folks, take care. Stick with us throughout the year. Hopefully we can bring you great content. And if you've got any ideas for anything you'd like to see Nick and I do, then please do drop us a message and we'll do our very best to try and deliver for you guys. But until then, all the best.